You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.
Good morning and welcome to Loose on the Lead. As I said, the handicappers support the day after. The exclamation point goes on the Saratoga meet for 2018 with a great Travers Day. Over 49,000 people in the house, including these two, Seth Merrill and Steve Bick. Good morning.
Well, you already counted once, so you can't count yourself twice. You're not going to spin for the attendance. All right? You already counted yourself. I'm new to the head count, though.
But it was a great crowd, a great day of racing. And I said it earlier, after a tough start, 4 weeks of weather that just would not quit as far as heat and humidity and rain, the last 3 or 4 days have been gorgeous, and Travers Day turned out to be, one of the highlights of the meet weather-wise.
And we deserved it after what has been a pretty arduous month weather-wise, and what is believed to be a Travers handle record. I didn't go back and check, but I knew going into Travers, I'd heard from Pat McKenna that they were tracking toward a handle record, make up a little bit of lost ground for all the races taken off the turf. And speaking of turf, it is amazing. We're going to have Chuck Lawrence, who came back with Glorious Empire, and Matt Shearer, and follows up the Bowling Green upset with a bigger upset in the Sword Dancer. It's amazing. They take down those temporary rails, and the turf course is pristine. And no matter how much rain we got, the turf course is still seemingly lightning fast. The Travers will obviously going to spend time with Jonathan Thomas this morning. Looking forward to that. I think, for me, a surprising result, not necessarily the winner, but the way in which the race unfolded, where you expected there was going to be a contested pace. There was a solid enough pace, but nobody made any inroads. And when the two front runners, when Catholic Boy and Mendelssohn spurted away on the turn, it was obvious that it was going to come down to the two of them. Only King Zachary really made up any significant ground.
Bravazzo a little bit.
A little bit. I mean, Bravazzo was kind of in there pitching the whole time.
Yeah.
But a very satisfying Travers result on what was a pretty fascinating cast, as it turned out. And just all day long, we had exceptional performances. All the sprint races. We're going to have Ron McQuett here. How about McQuett's run? He's taken his horses, the veterans like Whitmore and Petrov, and they've been just running spectacularly and running in some styles. He kind of changed things up. Ron is going to be here as well. So we're looking forward, and I think that one of the stories out of yesterday and with our lineup today is some personal accomplishment on a lot of levels. Ron McQuett has been battling an illness for a couple of years now that keeps him away from the racetrack in stretches. Jonathan Thomas struck out on his own and struggled for a while before landing the job at Bridlewood, and now basically capitalizing on his talent and opportunity. And Chuck Lawrence, a very unassuming jump rider. In fact, Jonathan, too. You got two guys that jumped over the hurdles on horseback. Chuck Lawrence has been a successful winning trainer for many, many years, and his first Grade 1. So in a lot of ways, it was a day of great individual achievement when it came to the horsemen as well as the horses and the riders.
Yeah, as I said, there was a lot of great storylines during the day, all day yesterday, and certainly put a capper on the meet. There's another week to go, but that was a great day of stakes action. That, as we said during the handicapper show, now we're going to play into the Breeders' Cup as well, because a lot of those were winning your in races. We'll see a lot of these Saratoga starters show up down at Churchill for Breeders' Cup Day, so that'll be fun to root for some of the horses that came and performed up here.
No doubt, and we saw maidens as well, always part of the story on Travers Day. We'll see where that goes. Let's not waste any time. Let's get into some of the action. And when I mentioned the sprint races, you're going to see Bob Baffert. In fact, Baffert back to back with Mike Smith and Marlies Freedom in the ballerina. She really did kind of come in feeling like the horse that had the most tactical speed, and
I put her underneath. I really like Finley's Lucky Charm, and she was out there winging early, and it just at the 7 furlongs kind of folded, and Marley then came.
She was not sharp coming in. If you were utilizing DRF Clocker report.
She's the 5, Finley's Lucky Charm, so she's going to fade number 7, Marley's Freedom.
She had not been the same coming out of her win, and the West Coast contribution on the clocking front. Toby Terrell said that Marley's Freedom was absolutely just advancing with every single passing week, and this picks up on an old theme. I wrote about this yesterday in my analysis. You think back to Gary Sherlock and Tangaroo, Doug O'Neill with Merrifield, these 7/8 sprinters from the West Coast, very effective. And Marley's Freedom now in the Baffert barn for several months and really just excelling, and she'll be a very big player.
The past 5 years, West Coast sprinters coming to New York. It just seems like, and not just Saratoga, any time of the year, it seems like they do very, very well. A little bit earlier, we talked to Dick Powell earlier, and he said, a little bit earlier on the card yesterday, but we talked to Dick Powell earlier today, said a great race in the personal ensign. It came down the stretch, and it was the 2 Ding Dong. He hit number 1 Abel Tasman over number 6 Elate. There was a look at the race afterwards, and there was maybe some controversy in the non-DQ, but it does wind up to be Abel Tasman over Elate in what was really just an epic personal ensign, as it were, getting it done here. So Bob Baffert shows up with 2 runners on Travers and walks away with 2 grade 1s.
Well, of course, this is a bit of a reprise of last year when these two that have really begun to enjoy a tremendous head-to-head and shoulder-to-shoulder rivalry. And last year in the Coaching Club American Oaks, same circumstance. There were a lot of people. I got to say, when people are watching replays and watching head-ons, you can always tell who bet. Because for anybody to have seen that, and there were a bunch of people saying, "Oh, Elate's getting put up. Oh, she was terrible." No, she wasn't. She came in as much as Abel Tasman came out. They met. If Elate was holding a line, that would have been one thing. And under that scenario, if Abel Tasman comes out and meets her while she's maintaining her line, okay, you got a case. But not when Elate is coming in at the same time and they come together. And I know Bill Mott wasn't happy. I understand how that goes, but Abel Tasman, who frankly, off of her win in the Phipps, had been sort of rumored as being a little bit off and feeling the effects of that big effort, but she shows up and runs big again. And everything points to a huge distaff, and wait till those 3-year-old fillies start mixing it in with the older fillies and mares. But terrific. I was hoping a little bit that Wildcat, second off the long layoff, I thought maybe Wildcat could shoulder her way in and mix it up with the big girls, but she's still just a little bit behind them. But she ran okay. She was chasing them home third.
Yeah, those the top 2 just about 10 in front of the rest of the field. So it was a nice performance by those 2. And then we were talking before we went on the air. We thought we'd swing in the last race in this spot, as there was that non-DQ in the personal ensign. I wanted to show the last race just because, and I'll admit, I had a dog in the game. If the DQ happens,
see what I tell you.
But normally, but this one, and I wouldn't even have brought it up. But this one, I always say I'm 50-50. I'm 70. This to me, I was like 99. And you're going to look at the horse in the orange is going to come out and bother the horse in the green. And this to me was like 99 to. How does that horse not come down? He came out 5 pats. She came out 5 pats in here. And the horse in the green winds up fourth. The horse in the orange winds up second. The outside, look at the head on the outside horse. Even the outside horse.
Everybody, absolutely everybody gets hurted, and everybody's affected in here.
But
you're
again,
absolutely
look at
right.
the outside horse. He thinks the horse is going to keep coming out, and he pulls the head of the horse on the outside. Even the eventual winner. He's like, "Whoa, this isn't." And so they looked, and as I said, to me this was 99 to 1%. And again, it would have made a difference for me. I admit that. But somebody walked up to me as we're looking and says, "What kind of a day did you have?" I said, "Well, when I get this DQ, it's going to be a good day." I was a slam dunk. I was shocked when that one didn't come down.
Shocked that the stewards wanted to get out of the building after a 13 race card.
But I did.
Stunning.
I did want to show that one because.
By the way, that was strictly an objection, right? There was no inquiry. It wasn't an inquiry.
I think you're right.
It was
an
objection,
sure.
right?
Yeah, I think.
Well, and the same thing was true of the personal ensign. There's a matter of paperwork, I believe. If it's an inquiry, they got to file a report. If it's just an objection, they can dismiss it and not have to write anything up.
Oh, so. There wasn't anything on the website. I know that there was about the Abel Tasman incident, but so again, just wanted to show that because I thought as the last race of the day kind of floated under the radar. To me, that was obvious. And I looked on Twitter. I talked to people last night, and everybody was kind of like, by then I was on my way home or whatever. So there wasn't much comment. I wanted to pull that up. But also wanted to pull up the Jerkins yesterday. This was kind of fun for Dale Romans. I had him in. He and Eric Guillot did a little duo here last week, and we talked a little bit with Dale about his horses in the Jerkins.
Wait a minute. There was room for Eric Guillot and Dale Romans on this set.
I told him I'm just going to introduce him. I'm going to go grab lunch. But
their heads alone are too big.
To stick around. Promises Fulfilled, though, backs up what we saw earlier in the meet and gets it done again. But Dale's 7 Trumpets for West Point winds up running second to complete a Dale exact. A nice run by both of the horses.
Well, 2 things here, of course. For starters, for those of you that were watching, the transponder must have fallen off of the one. There was the chiclet. The one chiclet was completely missing. Yeah. And until you saw Saez's cap, until you saw his head and the green cap pop up on the screen, it was hard to know where was Promises Fulfilled. He is getting better and better. Not a huge fig, by the way, a 99 here, but he's becoming more and more tactical. And Promises Fulfilled, Bob Barron, congratulations to him. Just, 4 weeks ago when they won the Amsterdam, it was the biggest thrill of his life. And then I heard, this is the biggest thrill of my life. 4 weeks later, the other thrill is dismissed. The 7 Trumpets was a horse. People say all the time, Dale Romans always loves all his horses. Dale may love all his horses. He does a job, if you listen carefully, to identifying early on which ones have real talent. He may like them in certain spots, but he will tell you and project. And 7 Trumpets was a horse like King Zachary, who of course ran a good late 4th in the Travers. 7 Trumpets was a horse that, even though he was fishtailing a little bit over the winter, he never gave up hope, and he always said 7 Trumpets will put it together, and that was a tremendous effort for the Romans exacta in the Alan Jerkins. And I actually was with Jason Service and Ron Lombardi afterward. They were very happy with, considering the way the race unfolded, they were quite satisfied with Firenze Fire's 3rd place finish here, another grade 1 placement for him, and they'll press forward. They're a little unsure of what they want to do because they think 6 furlongs in the sprint's too short. Dirt mile, probably for 1-turn dirt mile at Churchill for Firenze Fire. Right?
Yeah, he freaked in that Dwyer, certainly.
And the Champagne. So it does sort of figure that would be the right spot for them.
Yeah. All right, and before we go to a break, let's take a look at the race that wound up the stakes action yesterday, the Ballston Spa. We'll look at Quidera getting it done pretty much on the front end the whole way around. Hawksmoor runs second, Quidera the number 5, Hawksmoor the number 4, Indian Blessing the number 2. A Raving Beauty, the 4-5 favorite, winds up 4th in the field as 6, but a pretty nice performance from Kadira, the other Chad Brown, as it were.
You know what was interesting? It was, my friend Tony Montanino. Tony was out. We watched our 2-year-olds work today in preparation for debuts next week. And Tony pointed out how the exotics played in here. The Exacta is a 6-horse field. Kedora, $950 over Hawksmoor, 8-1. The Exacta paid $38.75.
Oh, yeah, I did notice that right after the race.
And wait, that Euro, the first time North America, for Indian Blessing, 18-1 in a 6-horse field. The trifecta paid $150 for 50 cents in a 6-horse field. Unbelievable. So if you got creative, you really got paid.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had the notion that Kedora could wire this field potentially, Proctor's Ledge really did not show up. And after winning 2 for 2 last year in the 3-year-old turf races, really kind of struggled here as a 4-year-old.
Mosley's had a nice little stakes win on New York Showcase Day, though. So they got
absolutely,
that,
and in fact, I think he's got a chance today. We're going to take a break because Jonathan Thomas is going to join us. One of the really tremendous stories of 2018 is his emergence, and he's got a big opportunity today in the Smart and Fancy. Everybody talks growing up around the game about that Travers Smart and Fancy double. No, just kidding.
Like
Jonathan
that,
Thomas joins us next. Stay with us. Loose on the lead. And we're not kidding. Hey now!
Sign up today for Capital OTB's Handicapping Series and plan your trip to Las Vegas.
The backstretch workers are the heart and soul of what we do.
They're the backbone of the industry.
People on the racetrack are very giving people.
It's a very impressive community of people helping one another. We see it all the time.
Any help we need it, it's right there in their hands.
It makes so much easier in the family to have somebody like Nathan to help them.
For 4 generations, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued the 96-year tradition of delighting their local following and faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients and served in a home-like setting where everyone is welcome. Some things have changed in the last 96 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
Welcome back to Loose on the Lead. Seth Merrill and Steve Bick live from Saratoga. Backstretch, beautiful morning here. Should be a great racing day, and it was a great racing day yesterday. Man of the hour, Jonathan Thomas, trainer at Catholic Boy. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
How was the evening? How was dinner in the evening last night?
You know, believe it or not, I was in bed by 9:45, and I had a dinner through a drive-through last night. It was pretty low-key, but, you know, we celebrated back at the barn with all the right people, and right before we left, Javier was the last guy to show up. Spent about 10 minutes in the stall with Catholic Boy, petting on him, and kind of gave us the replay of the race. And honestly, I don't think that we could have had a better experience than back there with him.
That's nice. So if you win the Super Bowl, you're going to Disney World. If you win the Travers, you're going to Burger King. Is that how it works?
Well, when I worked for Todd, I remember Super Saver, his post-race dinner was pizza with his family. So, you know, listen, we're happy to be a part of these things, and you know, we can celebrate with our own, you know.
Yeah, we're happy to have you on at the beginning of the meet. We're certainly happy to have you on this afternoon, this morning, going back to yesterday afternoon, the nice win in the Travers. Just talk about overall, you could tell just from what you said so far, but overall, what was the experience like?
I mean, I'm not going to lie, it was really surreal. You know, we were taking a horse over that we had a lot of confidence in, and to see him deliver and really see everything play out perfect. You know, it's such a rare thing to have happen in horse racing, but from the time we saddled up and he looked the part in the paddock, he left the pony and warmed up stellar. I had a lot of confidence in how he was getting over the racetrack. And then Javier, you know, what can I say about his ride? It was a balance of authoritative but like balanced authority. You know, he took the race by the scruff of the neck and, you know, he just looked like a tiger ready to pounce the entire time. And when they threw up the fractions, I just, you know, it was weird to feel that good. I was just waiting for it to get polished off, but it really was like everything went perfect.
Yeah.
Can we watch? Should we roll the tape and are we going to watch the whole thing? We have the whole tape?
Yeah, I believe we do have the whole thing.
How much concern of the things that were being talked about, first and foremost, was, you know, the turf conversion, number one, and then you draw the 11 hole. What were the thoughts from that standpoint, and take us around?
Well, starting from the turf to dirt conversion, I mean, you know, his body of work on the dirt up to this point, you know, it was light in the sense that we hadn't run him a whole lot on it, but what he had done gave us the confidence to try it. You know, his Remsen effort was good, or very good. The Sam Davis, you know, numerically it was very strong. In the Florida Derby, we kind of drew a line through that race. Most importantly, it trained on this particular track extremely well in his breezes. The 11 hole, I actually loved it because we had an opportunity to keep his face clean and to break and allow the pace to develop inside of us. And, you know, Javier did just an extremely good job of getting a great position going into the first turn. And here, you know, when they threw up this 23-2, I just thought there is no excuse from here. Literally, you know, if we have the horse, if Javier has the horse underneath of him, it was just a matter of executing. This is the most painful time because you're just sitting here until, you know, it's time to throw down.
What are you watching at this point? Are you watching for somebody to come get you guys, or are you focused totally on Mendelssohn and where you're standing?
At this point, a horse race, I pay a lot of attention to the rider and his body language. I mean, at this point, Javier has never moved, and it's kind of like a poker game. Who throws their cards in last? And at this point in time, Javier has not thrown a card down. You know, he's kind of just seeing what he has underneath of him. But I thought as the race would develop, distance-wise, we were always going to get stronger.
You could tell as they went into the turn, everybody else is asking, and Ryan Moore and Javi are just riding.
Yeah, I mean, by the time we turn in here, it's just a matter of polishing the race off. But there was no, not to jump the gun, but at this point, I knew it was going to be over.
And I heard you, of course, in the press conference afterward, you did express some surprise at how dominant at this point this turns out to be. Yeah, I mean, it's a rout now.
These are good horses. These are good horses with top, you know, international and national connections. I mean, you've got Aiden O'Brien, Chad Brown, Todd Pletcher, D. Wayne Lucas. I mean, these are all guys that, you know, I look up to on a daily basis, and you know, to be competitive in this kind of an arena with this kind of horse and have things go the way they have, it's a dream come true.
Sixth Travers for Javier Castellano, who is this actually, I thought of this, in fact, late last night, that it's become a little unusual now with him. It's becoming almost Pat Day-esque in terms of him racking up wins in race like this, the way Pat did in Preaknesses without a Derby, and then eventually Day got his Derby, and Javier will get his, and so forth. But it's amazing in this age, in this era, for a guy to win 6 Travers, and he's mid-career.
No, I'd agree. I mean, you know, we're just getting into the arena where we have horses good enough to call on a guy like Javier. You know, we're not going to inundate him with horses we don't believe in, but the relationships that has developed in a short amount of time, I can't tell you how much a fan I've become of his just from his preparation. He's got a great horsemanship on top of his riding skills, and he comes so prepared, but he makes everything look so easy. I mean, that ride, it just looked like we were going through the motions. I mean, you know, and he's just a super talent. He's obviously a Hall of Famer that's got a lot of career ahead of him. If you could get inducted twice, maybe he's a candidate. But listen, we're just thrilled with what he's done for our team.
To the horse for a minute, and then we'll talk, and part of it, your horsemanship as well, and your career arc. And you showed a video to Sean Clancy yesterday, and I asked you to forward it to us, and you got to see this. Because if you want to have confidence about observing a horse going into race day, when you see a horse behaving like this in the round pen, you must have been very confident.
Yeah, it's like a little addition to what we do. I mean, we bring it kind of from home, but I love getting my horses out after they train, they get to roll and play and kind of crack their backs, and they're like any of us. We need space, and they get kind of uninterrupted time away from people and just get to be a horse for a little bit and get dirty before they get a bath. But every day they'll kind of tell you something different with their body language, and I love seeing horses get up and buck and squeal and play, and it's indicative of them just feeling good. And this is him yesterday morning, about 10 o'clock, on race day, and he just really enjoys himself. And part of our job, it's not only to train them physically, but mentally. I like to keep our horses happy. It's a really important thing for me.
Well, the horse is happy. The groom is not happy. When they start pawing at the ground, usually after a bath, and all of a sudden they start to paw and they're going to roll.
This is before bath. This is before bath. So,
they'll do it. They'll do it. A lot of times, you'll give them a bath, and the groom's like, no.
Believe me, this groom is not complaining about anything right now.
Jonathan, for you, I mean, to deal with the adversity and the curveballs that were thrown from the winter into the spring, and having to kind of reboot the season. You talk about calling on your horsemanship.
Well, we've always not let a race be more important than the horse. Don't get me wrong. I love the thought of the Derby, but I think it has too much clout, and I think some horses are kind of pigeonholed to get there at their expense. And the one thing, and it might cost me people down the road, but I'm never going to put the horse before the race ever, including the Derby. And when we knew we couldn't get there the right way and put this horse and showcase him in the right way, we came up with a game plan. All the owners were on board, and Mr. LaPenta has been such a patient guy in letting us develop this horse, and it's nice to see putting the horse first pay off, because without them we're all just up here talking about nothing. So that as a horseman, it means a lot to me, but you can't do it without the backing of your clients and them understanding. And obviously he responded the right way to taking care of him.
I want to go back, talking about the break you had to take after the Florida Derby and regroup and come back in the Pennine Ridge, followed up with a win in the Belmont Derby, a grade 1 at 1.25 miles on the turf, now a grade 1 at 1.25 miles on the dirt. But I wanted to go back to that regroup race, because that was just a freakish performance. We're going to watch the stretch run to the Pennine Ridge, and for folks who don't remember, at this point, Analyze It is kind of considered a potential superstar on the turf. Analyze It's going to be the number 4. Go by. It looks like the race is over. Number 3, Catholic Boy, though, comes back, as I said, in just what was a freakishly good performance. So after the bleeding incident in the Florida Derby, you had to be thrilled with this.
Oh, this was great. He had trained really well up to this, and we were kind of bringing him in 90%, 85% from a fitness standpoint, really targeting the Belmont Derby. And listen, Analyze It is a very good horse, and we had a lot of respect going into the race, and I hate to ever concede defeat, and settle for second place, but we actually were kind of thinking that going in. So listen, that last eighth of a mile, I just turned into a fan. I was screaming and grabbing everyone near me, and we were just, you don't expect efforts like that, so it's it was a real thrill.
Coming out of that and the Belmont Derby, I saw a note from Andy Serling, brought up a great point that don't know if and when we'll see a Belmont Derby Travers double again. You bring up Bob LaPenta, who of course has had any number of successes in the game, and you were very quick yesterday during the press conference to acknowledge what his confidence in you has meant. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit, Jonathan, because through through this whole journey, I've had you on the show. You've talked with me on the radio many times. Starting with you're going out on your own, then tying in with Bridalwood, and then the opportunity that afforded you to meet other people. Some you already knew, some you got reacquainted with, and then build your training career. And talk a little bit about how that has all come to pass and how satisfying it is, the path you ended up taking.
No, I mean, it's completely unorthodox, and it's not something we wrote up on paper, but I always felt like a weak point in me was the actual recruiting of horses and learning about young horses as athletes and trying to get your hands on them, because really it's a recruiting business, and getting the best athlete is going to afford you the best opportunity to succeed. So, I took a step back, went to Ocala, and started to frequent the horse sales, and lucky I got to spend time with Todd and his father, JJ, who are exceptional at purchasing young horses, and try to employ the recruiting and development aspect of it. And as it started to work, some owners came forward about keeping a couple horses and trying it out, and took a small gamble on us. Aaron Wellman being, listen, we wouldn't have gotten the shot without him, because he really was the first guy to say, hey, you've got this great place. You have I've got some horses that'll fit your program, and let's try it. And I said, if you're willing to try it with us, we'll give it a shot. But, we've got a great facility. Catholic Boy, 90% of his training is actually taking place at Bridalwood Farm, the preparation. And it's the beauty of having a training facility, but a spa atmosphere where you can let them be horses a small part of the time. So it satisfies me as a horseman, because I feel like we're getting to cover a lot of bases. But, as time has gone on, we've just met stronger and stronger people and employed better teammates and getting our hands on better quality horses. So I'd like that to be my hub, develop, and if the good ones, we'll bring them to the racetrack and hopefully execute.
Well, and you get, because of your positioning there, you actually are in a more advantageous position to utilize various aspects of the business. I mean, in terms of pin hooking and into 2-year-old and training sales, and then going on with some of the horses that might not, fetch the reserve, which is something that Bob LaPenta, that's how Bob LaPenta and Nick Zito built their successes, were on the ones that came home.
No, for sure. And I think you have to be careful of pigeonholing yourself in this business, because, if you look at it from a stock portfolio, diversification is really, there's a lot of safety in it, and everything communicates to the next thing. Young horse becomes a racehorse becomes a stallion or a broodmare, and it all cycles back on itself. And if I have true heroes in this business, I've always been a huge fan of John Nehrude and Jim Bulger, and the fact that they excelled at every facet of the horse business. Now, I never think about replicating their sort of careers, but I love all the aspects, and I think I get as much enjoyment about having purchased Catholic Boy as a baby as I have trained him, but it's been to be part of the whole package satisfies me as a horseman. But then on the flip side, just in the last week, we broke newspaper record for Chad, who's a good friend of mine, and that felt very good. And we broke Axelman for Michael McCarthy, and he won the Smarty Jones. Yes. So even I love still seeing that we're doing what we set out to do, and that's do the best for the horse and the client. And if it means me, that's great. And if it means where they're, other trainers, sure, specifically Todd, Michael McCarthy, and Chad, who have become our core group, that's very satisfying. There's a lot of satisfaction that comes from that too.
Well, of course, now you gotta win something for the little general. For Aaron.
We're gonna try.
Let's talk about this afternoon. As Steve said before we went to the break, there's nothing like the Travers Smart and Fancy Double. So we'll see if we can do that this weekend. And you have a nice horse in there. I'm going to pull up the race from Belmont, June 1st. The number 2 will be Tilly's Lily. This was win number 4 in start number 4. Nice turf sprinter, steps into Stakes Company this afternoon in the Smart and Fancy. What are your thoughts on Tilly's Lily?
This filly we struggled with as a 2-year-old. She had a couple of slight physical issues that we needed to let her grow out of, and we debuted her last summer, and she just trained gangbusters. I mean, she's a super fast filly, very forward, no quirks at all. we were able to get a couple good races out of her last year, and then we put her away for the winter, kind of hoping to bring her up here to Saratoga and showcase her. And this was her comeback race, and we were very happy with the result. We had her in the Caress, and she spiked a little fever, and it rained, and it rained enough where, scratching her made it a little bit more palatable between those two things, and subsequently she's been training well. I think she's going to show up today. I don't have her fully cranked, but if she's as good as I hope she is or think she is, I definitely see her being in the mix today and platforming into another stake out of this.
Yeah, I see the career debut was a win on the dirt and an off-the-turf event, so maybe next year the ballerina.
Because it's the same thing here. We're getting into a management aspect of a horse where, she has enough pedigree, she has enough credentials. My job now is to hopefully create some residual value for her. She's a distorted humor filly out of an Empire Maker mare that's a half-sister to Monarchos. I bought her for $200 as a yearling. She's probably worth about $6 now as it stands, and if we can get her to win a stake race, the sky's the limit. The distorted humor fillies right now that are stakes winners are probably the most sought after broodmare prospects in this country. So, for our owners, we hope we can capitalize on that at some stage.
This afternoon.
Hopefully today.
Smart and fancy.
Yeah.
All right, Jonathan Thomas, appreciate the visit. Certainly, congratulations on the great run with Catholic Boy, including that Travers yesterday, obviously. And you said at the press conference, I have to ask you, though, you said nothing certain, but you have any game plan next for Catholic Boy?
I mean, tentatively that Jockey Club Gold Cup Hill Prince weekend kind of makes sense. I'm not so sure I wouldn't use the Hill Prince as a platform or prep into the Classic, if that's what everybody kind of agrees to. But I certainly have no issue putting this horse back on the turf. It's a nice, kind surface. There's no reason to try to tackle Diversify on his home track. Especially horses that run on the lead as fast as they do, you can get in a lot of trouble chasing them, and you can run your eyeballs out and come out worse for the effort.
Absolutely.
If that was our lone goal, well, then you tackle it. But if our big target, the next target is the Classic, then we need to find a good platform, and the platform might just be training up to it. So, which he's run really well fresh, so we have confidence in that. But that weekend's got a big circle around it.
Well, we appreciate the visit, and again, congratulations. Good luck going forward.
Thanks, guys, and appreciate all you all do. Thank you.
Very good.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate the visit. We'll take a break. When we come back, Ron Moquette is in the house and Chuck Lawrence as well. A couple more Grade 1 winners from the Saturday cards. Stay tuned.
Looking for a fantastic meal? Stop by Malcolm's, a unique farm-to-table restaurant experience. Located at 617 Union Street in Schenectady, Malcolm's offers locally grown fresh foods, mouth-watering flavors, an enhanced drink menu, and terrific service. Malcolm's is a sure bet during Saratoga season. Make your reservation today.
Pick, bet, and cheer on live racing from Woodbine and Mohawk Park. Thoroughbred and harness action. The wagers are just the beginning. Watch award-winning broadcasts covering both breeds, incredible battles contested over the most unique grass course in North America. Experience the full fields with over 130 thoroughbred and 160 live harness days. Get access to free handicapping material and join the ranks of Woodbine and Mohawk Park players from all over the globe. For more information, visit woodbine.com.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Visit Rivers Casino and Resort, the Capital Region's only destination for live table game action and the hottest new slots paying out millions. And they're off. Horse betting is now at Rivers Casino and Resort with Capital off-track betting terminals and live tellers located just off the gaming floor at Van Slyck's. Get in on all the action at Rivers Casino and Resort.
We're back on Loose on the Lead, and we're knocking this thing around like a volleyball. We got both Ron Moquette and Chuck Lawrence at the same time. A revelation came out during the off-air break. Chuck Lawrence and Jonathan Thomas went to the same high school. Unbelievable.
It's a small world in the racing world.
Well, and of course, Moquette, who joins us now, he went to a high school that was on the Arkansas-Oklahoma border. So certain classes were in Oklahoma and some were in Arkansas.
Some we had no class.
Is that true? Like the campus was
No,
on the border?
I'm kidding.
Oh.
But he literally was born on. He's an Arklahomian.
Whoever has the better football team.
That's you can jump along. I can tell you one thing. Moquette's had the right formula here. This meet, and I said on the air, in fact, people were asking me yesterday, I said on the air going into after Petrov won, I said, I can't get Moquette this meet, no how, and now up to 5 wins, and the highlight being yesterday Whitmore in the Grade 1 Forgo.
Yeah, why don't we take a look at
with
that?
style.
Whitmore's the number 3. City of Light, the favorite, is the number 8. Whitmore gets it done by a chart margin of 1.5. A nice performance at 8-1.
I'll take it.
We're going to watch here around the turn. What was the approach coming in?
I just told Ricardo to play the break, and I said, the horse, he can do whatever you ask him to do. If you remember the last race at Belmont, we went to get through the rail and hit the rail a couple times, and I think that cost us a length or two. And this time it all worked in our favor, and that's the great thing about horse racing is it's kind of an equalizing sport. It takes away and it gives.
This was his first start at Saratoga. We've seen him the last couple of seasons over at Oaklawn. Ricardo Santana Jr. has been a revelation for a lot of players and fans at Saratoga this summer. You've known, and people down there particularly have known for a number of seasons how effective and how terrific he is.
Yeah, he's an awesome rider, and the more people use him, the harder he's going to be for me to get him, because he's a difference maker.
Now 5, and you kind of forget. I mean, he's been such a consistent hard hitter. In occasional spots, the circumstances have played against. But I don't even know why he would be, so often available. You almost never see him as a favorite. Maybe in the Count Fleet, but he talk about him as a horse that's maintained form like this.
I'm very proud of the horse and the work that the barn's done to keep him there. He's a horse that has a lot of natural ability. He's not the easiest to be around, except on race day, and he brings it. But he brings that same tenacity back at the barn. And I don't understand, other than my name not being a high-profile brand name, why you wouldn't want to bet him. If you look at his PPs yesterday against the field, I see there's horses that won allowance races picked over him, and yet we've played in some of the biggest arenas with some of the best horses, but we use that as fuel. We wouldn't know what to do if they give us the credit that we thought the horse deserved, and whenever we watch the shows like this one or the shows like TVG and the other people, if they don't say our name, we don't not lead him over.
I wasn't on yesterday, or I would have said his name, because I kind of fell in love with him last year at Oaklawn. I love playing the Oaklawn meet. Yeah. And I'll ask you, as an Oaklawn-based guy, just as a handicapper, do you think the same as a trainer? I always feel in that maybe month-and-a-half period after Oaklawn ends, I think horses leave Oaklawn with a lot of fitness, and I like to play them when they move to other venues.
It's funny. I've seen people ship into Oaklawn and struggle to get over and to win races, and then when they leave, you can bet all you want, because it's a demanding course to train over, and the guys that figure it out, they have horses that last all year, and they perform at a high level. It's a unique. It's very much. It's like it's like Saratoga South. It's kind of, you can't come in and base there year round. You have to come in and you got 45 days to get ready. So it's a fun meet, but you can sure play those horses.
Yeah, that's what I found over the past few years. And as I said, kind of fell in love with Whitmore last year down at Oak Lawn, and this year ran very well there again, winning 2 sprint stakes down there. And then it was a nice performance, obviously, on Saturday. This was a win and you're in. It's a win and you're in for the mile, right? So is that going to be the game plan?
We're going to shake it up and see what happens, but we're going to run our next out. If everything's okay, we'll go to the Phoenix. And we'll, I don't suppose they'd give us like a coupon or something. Do you think? I mean, I'm trying to figure out a way to get something out of that win and you're in thing. 7/8 races, they push you to the mile. I think you ought to be able to get a gambler's choice.
That's you're not wrong actually about that.
They don't offer that distance at the track or at the Breeders' Cup. I think we ought to be able to choose, but I'm thankful we're going to the Breeders' Cup regardless if the horse is willing and everything's perfect.
You get to run out of your own stall too at Churchill, but his record at the Downs is right. It has not been as
one was the Kentucky Derby,
which we can put a line through,
and he won his first out, and then. If you look at the only other time he ran there was the 7/8 race on Derby Day, and we watched that replay. That's a handicapper's delight. We only stopped like 3 times down the stretch, but it was, we like the thought of being able to stand in our own stall and walk over. It's we want to see what the California people feel like.
Well, I suppose the one advantage if you do have to, if you do lean toward the mile, it is at least the 1-turn mile configuration that the race was when it was introduced to the Breeders' Cup. The idea was to put it in line with things like the Met and the Cigar Mile, a classic 1-turn stallion building mile, except that it's been run so infrequently at the 1-turn distance. Without Belmont in the rotation, the only place we get the 1-turn is at Churchill.
Yeah.
So that, at least if you do opt in that direction, it's the 1-turn mile.
Yeah, I like that's still an option. I think what people forget is that he can run a route of ground.
Sure.
It's just we think that he's this is easier on him. He's had a lot of success doing it, and we like to keep going back to the well of the sprints, but he was only beaten by Grade 1 winners when he running, past the mile, and that's being Cupid and Creator, and those are both very, very nice horses.
There's another part of this story that didn't occur to me until just now, and I'm sure a lot of people noticed that Bob LaPenta and Sal Cumin, were the ownership team, and then of course they got to reprise the visit to the winner's circle for the Travers. But it does occur to me that the ownership group that came together for Catholic Boy, the incubator, was Whitmore.
Well, that's pretty cool,
right? I mean, because Bob, go back to the original two partners on Whitmore.
Yeah, the original 2 partners was me and Harry Rosenblum.
Right.
And then
he brought in
Bob. And then Harry sold his part to Saul.
And from there, that relationship.
I should get some kind of credit, basically. Yeah.
This is how this guy works.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar,
I don't need a credit, just a check.
Exactly, or some
souvenir memorabilia.
Gift certificates.
Yeah. Checks, I'm just adding here, looking at the purse from yesterday and what he's already earned. He's on the verge at $2 million and 22 starts, 11 wins. That's pretty good, 50% wins and a couple of $1 million.
Yeah, that's. I always tell everybody, they give me a hard time about his pedigree, and I think well, if you ever saw it, you pull it up, it looks like one tree. I mean, it's like it's not a family tree. It's not great, but the thing with him is that he proves to everyone it's not really how much they cost, it's what they're worth, and he's as consistent and hard knocking as they come, and he's not the best bred, and he's never going to make a stallion, obviously, although I did joke that I was planning on standing him, but he's a worker type horse, and it makes people think that they could jump in and get lucky and get something like this.
Yeah, certainly, as I say,
1.9 million later.
Yeah, 11 for 22. Let's talk about one of your other runners at the meet that put in a pretty good performance a couple weeks ago. In the second start at the meet, we have the August 19th allowance optional claimer for Petrov. Had started earlier in the meet in the Vanderbilt, then comes back just a few days ago on August 19th, as I say. Number 6 is going to be Petrov. And this was kind of a salty little optional claimer. There was a lot of stakes quality performers in here, but this was a nice performance by Petrov as well.
Yeah, Petrov is a horse that's going to eventually figure out and get consistent as long as as long as I can start learning what he's telling me. He's a very high cruising speed, cool kind of horse. He's made almost 600,000 now, and he's beat a lot of very good horses. I need him to step up in the stakes races, and I read a comment somewhere that someone thought maybe Ron's using these stakes races as preps for the allowances. Well, the truth of the matter is we thought that it was a short field. We'd take a shot because the race didn't go that we wanted to run in. So we went into the race hoping that the Saratoga, the graveyard of favorites, maybe happened to us, and it didn't. But it proved a good way for us to get some fitness.
Yeah, nice confidence builder too. Do you have anything planned for him?
We're actually looking at the Bold Ruler at Belmont, and I think that he'll do very well there. I think that he's coming to the race the way you want one to come to it.
I also wanted to pull up, because you have a nice one for the future potentially. We are going to look at a second-time starter again, second-time starter at the meet, but a nice little 2-year-old in Frosted Ice. This one ran on August 17th. Will be the number 5 horse here. The debut was at the beginning of the meet, ran 4th in that one. Seemed to clearly have benefited from the education. Again, Frosted Ice breaking the maiden and career start number. Doing it pretty convincingly. The chart margin 5.5.
The thing that impressed me about his second out was the gallop out. If you watch the gallop out, he's 16-2. I mean, he wants to go 2 turns. He's Bellamy Road. He's everything that about him says that he'll go all day, and he's green and he's learning the game, but he's a horse with a nice future, and we're going to try him in a little 7-furlong stake for the New York Breds, and I think he'll give a good counting of himself. There's the gallop out I was telling you about. It's not like he's getting tired. And when I first got to Saratoga this year, I noticed that a lot of my horses were not as fit, and so some of these horses were made to look bad because their trainer didn't have them ready, and that's how it is. I mean, you go somewhere, and I trained like the track was last year, so I thought we'd get up here and be ready, and when we got here, we started entering the first group of horses, and lo and behold, everybody come back tired. Mm-hmm. So I tweaked it a little bit, and things started getting a little bit better for us and those poor people that were betting on us.
Well, and I'm the only dummy that missed it. Speaking of getting better and health related, one of the stories top of the show I mentioned how much personal satisfaction and between you and Chuck Lawrence and Jonathan Thomas. Jonathan with a fairly fascinating route to reach the Travers. For you, some health challenges, Ron, that have been obviously not significant roadblocks, because you're operating at Ellis and Remington opened on Friday, and you've got a string at Remington. You've had a good meet at Prairie Meadows. You're running them in Indiana as well, out of the barn at Churchill, out of Kentucky. How you feeling? And is some of it behind you, or is it ongoing?
Well, it's ongoing, but the thing that I want to express is I am so grateful for my help. I mean, I've got Ronnie Werner at Remington Park. He's not too shabby. He's a Grade 1 winning trainer.
You got to keep a 6'5" hold on him, though.
Yeah. And then we've got good people everywhere, and we work, and these guys are busting tail for us every day, and that's why we're managing to go through. And I haven't been as big a presence as I want to be, but I'm getting better, and we're coming off of the prednisone. It's starting to lose a little bit, so I'll quit looking like a pumpkin face in every picture. But it's I'm getting my energy back slowly, but it's still there and it's not going away right now, and we'll see if we can figure out something else that'll beat it up.
Well, we're just happy that you're at the track, happy that you get to be out with the owners and with, you basically were observing from afar, and it's great that, when I saw you at the sale, I was heartened that you were going to be here, and delighted to have this opportunity to congratulate you on a grade one.
Like Lynn Whiting said, nothing feels nothing that a fast horse can't cure. So we got a couple, so I feel pretty healthy right now.
I love it. And you mentioned Lynn. Have you and Hobby found a third to go to lunch with?
We're taking interviews all the time. We still keep his chair bent over. That's just but we have a lot of people. We've had Steve Asmussen, Mike Johnson. We've had Ben Huffman. We've had a lot of people come and go with us, and they, that's a weekly tradition that's going to stay around for a while. And no matter what, we feel like that there's always some quirk or comment made that was maybe spawned by Lynn. So.
How about maybe a little Scooter Dickey? You get Scooter?
Oh no, I think he's ruled off at most of those places.
Tomlinson?
Yeah.
What about Tomlinson?
He'd be fine. He's probably clear for takeoff. There's a bunch of them that it's just hard to get everybody's schedule, but that's why we keep it rotating. But I don't know if we'll ever find a third amigo. But it's fun. We've had the lady Anita Ebert went with us one time, and we've had a lot of really cool people come and go to spend that lunch with us, and it's fascinating that a lot of people talk about it, but we have a good time. I've tried to get Lucas, but Lucas is convinced that it's a nightclub. I'm like, Lucas. It's not. We wouldn't be going to a nightclub. It's not a. He goes. There'll be somebody see me there. I'm not going. So, you can have a lot of fun with Wayne Lucas. Could you imagine him coming to that place with us?
Well, that's the problem. That's what he's worried about.
I would photograph it.
See, there you. And so Wayne is right to be concerned. Unbelievable, Ron Moquette, and you can follow Ron. There's Moquette Racing 97, and then there's Ron Moquette, and there's two Twitter accounts. Took this guy 8 years to get one, and you can follow either one. You double do. At some point, you got to blend them.
Business is that that's all wins and congratulations and thank you and information. And I am personal because I'll talk about Razorback basketball or how bad I don't like this guy or that guy, and so I want to keep business from personal. So we'll see.
I'll have to give my sister and my nephews the Twitter. They're in Fayetteville, so Razorback basketball would be right in their wheelhouse.
Yeah, we're I'm hopelessly a Razorback fan. So.
Well, then call the Hogs for us.
Yeah, I do it on the phone. I don't do that business. That's for somebody.
That's
for somebody that's a lot more established. That would put my career right down the drain. I can't do it.
Sui Pig?
No, none of that. No. I'm a Razorback fan, and I don't think I've ever done it even when I go to the games.
The calling of the Hogs. For those of you who have no idea what we're referring
Google it. Those of you at home, Google it, and you'll see exactly why I didn't do it.
You can go to YouTube and watch for the calling of the Hogs. We're going to have the calling of Chuck Lawrence when we come back, and we're going to go over the jumps with him and talk about his career that reached a grade one pinnacle itself yesterday in the Sword Dancer as he sent out Matt Shearer's winner, Glorious Empire, all the way around. Back after this, Loose on the Lead.
For 4 generations, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued the 96-year tradition of delighting their local following and faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients and served in a home-like setting where everyone is welcome. Some things have changed in the last 96 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
The backstretch workers are the heart and soul of what we do.
They're the backbone of the industry.
People on the racetrack are very giving people.
It's a very impressive community of people helping one another. We see it all the time.
Any help we need it. It's right there in their hands.
It makes so much easier in the family to have somebody like Nathan to help them.
If you like to play the Late Pick 5, here's some great news. Capital OTB is now accepting internet wagering on Naira's Late Pick 5 at Saratoga on all platforms and all digital devices. Simply log on to capitalotb.com, look for the icon, and there you go. If you're playing on one of your digital devices, just open your Capital OTB Bet icon, click on the menu button, and scroll down to find the Late Pick 5. Late Pick 5 wagering, now at Capital OTB.
We're back on Loose on the Lead on this fun Travers post show that has featured two tremendous horsemen, Jonathan Thomas and then Ron Moquett, talking about what they've done and what they did to get their Grade 1 wins yesterday. And now Chuck Lawrence joins us, the sword dancer. And Chuck, one of the things that we learned off air was that you went to the same high school as Jonathan.
I did. I was kind of in between him and his dad, but I was really good friends with his father. His father rode point-to-point races for my father. So, yeah, we have a close tie there.
And, of course, Chuck started his horsemanship career over the jumps as a rider, and you got major wins over the hurdles. This is a big hurdle, too, in your career to win a Grade 1 like this at Saratoga.
It is, and I think I won the Turf Riders in '87 the first time as a pretty young lad, and tore up the town, and a little more educated now with the big win yesterday.
I love it. We talked at different times when you rode and won a Temple Guathame as a rider and then as a trainer.
Yeah.
You won the Lawrence Realization in terms of your first flat graded stake win, which is a really, now that it's gone, a very historic race. And to have that on a resume, there's even some Hall of Famers that don't have a Lawrence Realization.
Yeah. I'm really proud of that. That was for Mrs. Stephen C. Clark, and when she passed away, she left me the trophy and the stand and everything. It's beautiful.
Oh, wow.
It's really neat. Yes.
Well, this trophy, a sword dancer, and I started the show by saying that it was a very special trio that we were going to offer this morning in terms of the horsemen, and Moquett and Jonathan Thomas and their stories for you and this horse and Matt Shearer. This is a real achievement. You claimed this horse for 62.5, and you had to make adjustments, and you had to deal with some things with him, and it's paying off now, 2 years later?
Yes, sir. Well, the Hall of Fame trainer I worked for, Mr. Cox, he loved speed horses. They would go long, and he would purchase horses, speed horses, and then teach them to go long. It's all about getting them to turn off and settle and have that kick at the end. You've got to have a fast horse, and especially at this high end of racing, at this level.
Were you shocked at the fractions, given that he had come out of the Bowling Green essentially with a similar front end kind of a win, that nobody really went out and pushed you to a faster time?
Well, I mean, this horse has been exceptional working in the morning, so we knew he had that kind of talent, and it was one of the strategy in Bowling Green, and the strategy here was, look, they're probably going to think that the Bowling Green was a fluke because of the soft ground, and we thought maybe they would leave us alone again on the lead. And this horse is very, very talented in the morning, and we knew from the Delaware race where he won on firm ground, and we thought that was probably one of his best races. So we knew it was probably best on good to firm ground. So,
talk a little bit about what transpired going back to September, and Carlos had him off the claim. Carlos, one of the first people down to the winner's circle to congratulate you and Matt Shearer, which I thought was really nice. And the bleeding issue and having to let the horse, fully recover and then build him back up. Talk about what you did, Chuck, and how you, when you encounter this, what a horseman does.
We all kind of work as a team, all the trainers together, trying to help each other out. But this horse had the bleeding problem, it was real nervous, could be associated with the bleeding. We sent him to Pennsylvania and turned him out on Gene Weymouth's farm there, and then brought him back, and every step of the way was a process to get him over the bleeding and get him over the nervousness. And lucky to have an owner like Matt that will take his time with the horse, give him time, and try to do the right thing, the right steps. And Bruce Jackson's hyperbaric chamber, the Fairhill Therapy Center, things like that, to help keep him stabilized. And knock on wood, this year he's been great, just because we've given him the time and we've kind of reprogrammed his brain into being happy and settled. During the race, that's the big thing I told Matt. When he went by the stands the first time, I said, look at him. He's got his ears pricked and he's just having fun. He was doing the same thing down the backside, doing the same thing in the turn. I got really excited because the other riders, being an ex-jockey, I could see the riders behind him starting to move their hands, and I was like, uh-oh, we got a shot here. So it was very exciting.
Looked at the equipment changes yesterday. He was listed as Hood again. For people who don't know, what does that mean?
He wears he actually doesn't wear the earpieces that a lot of people have that prevent him from hearing. He has a hood on. It's a titanium hood, and it's supposed to help calm a horse.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know. That's why we give it a shot.
Oh,
so.
Interesting. This was a Breeders' Cup win in your in race. Is that the game plan? And what have you penned in anything in the interim?
Well, the Joe Hirsch is certainly on the schedule if we want to do it. Now that we're winning, you're in. We could just point him for the Breeders' Cup, but he looked great this morning. We'll see how he does the next couple weeks, but that's definitely a possibility.
Clearly, I'm assuming back down to Fairhill.
Yeah, he's going back tonight. We didn't have any plans of the Breeders' Cup until the big goal, Matt told me, was to win at Saratoga. His two biggest days that he really likes is the Preakness and Saratoga meet, and I try to point all of his horses for those two factors, and now we have to factor in the Breeders' Cup. It's kind of nice, so it's good.
When you guys, of course, this was with Carlos, but you offered him back for 50, and that ended up serving almost as a bit of a confidence boost at the time.
Yes.
And when you talk about the distance and the relaxation factor, the taking a horse with speed and stretching them, and the less stress, the less sharp a distance, the less stress on a horse. And turf in general, we didn't get a chance to ask Jonathan, but one of the things that he said he wanted to do from that 11 hole was to keep the dirt out of his face.
Yes, sir.
And we hear that all the time about horsemen that'll take a horse that is clearly, the kickback, it bothers them. You put them on grass and there's going to be less kickback, and then at the same time you got horses that want to be covered up and then produced. This is a horse that clearly is free running. That yesterday when the splits were going up, that second and third quarter ended up being like almost 51 seconds.
Yes.
And that's when
that's what won the race.
That was that he gets to totally relax. I mean, because really the 23, the opening 23 was not that big a deal, just in terms of getting control, and then right away Rosario backed off on channel marker and Maker and let him go.
No, I was a little worried the first quarter, but then once I saw him come by the stands and he had his ears pricked and he was so happy, I was really, really comfortable with how he was going. And then down the backside, and I knew in the turn that he had a ton of horse, and I was just screaming for Julian to turn him loose because I wanted to get the jump on him. So
I was amused that the other race that was being considered was the Presque Isle Mile.
that was huge on Matt's huge on Matt. Janine's family lives up that way. That was huge on his priority list. I was against it because of the a little bit faster.
Sure.
Each eighth is a little bit faster in those type of races, and the pressure on him. And he's been excelling at the further distances. So, unfortunately, with a horse like this, you're limited in the races that are over a mile and eighth, and so that was one of the considerations. Yes.
I wanted to hit on also another race early in the meet for Matt Sierra. Looks like you have a nice little promising 2-year-old Shanghai Bonnie. We're going to watch the race just a few days ago. There'll be a DQ in here, and you guys will get moved up. It just hit the wire. The number 1 horse will get DQ'd. Number 5, 2 Dozen Roses, runs second. Number 4 is Shanghai Bonnie, who is in the lead. And then a close-up ding-dong finish under the wire, third by a couple of necks. But as I say, with the DQ, winds up getting moved to second. Yeah. This was the career debut for Shanghai Bonnie. You have to be pretty happy with the result.
Well, I was expecting her to win, but she is very talented little filly. Matt was concerned about her size because she's a little small, but I tell you what, she's got a big heart, and she's really fast. So when she pounced out of the gate, I thought that we had a really good shot to win the race, but it's Saratoga. There's 10 other horses in the race expecting the same thing. So.
And it's hard to tell here, but on the head on the inside horse kind of bounces. The rail bounces into your horse. That certainly had to affect the finish as well.
I think it did. Luckily, she came out of it not a mark on her. I'm looking for her to bounce back and hope to get the job done, and hope we get her into stage company somewhere this fall. She's a very talented filly.
Chuck, what does it mean for you, career-wise, to have a high-profile win like this and an opportunity, to maybe get showcased to potential owners? In fact, Jonathan talked openly about the challenges when he first went out on his own 6-7 years ago, that the recruiting of owners and the acquisition of stock was an area that he wasn't really polished yet, and
yes.
We talk so often about what a challenging landscape it is,
yes,
because not everybody, it's one thing to have a personality that gets along with the horses. It's a whole nother thing to run a business, and then it's a whole nother thing to be able to go up to people and to have some interplay to suggest that they come with you and take a chance. How does this help you?
Well, I think just the exposure itself, but I'm not the type of person that goes out and hustles horses. My wife Beth gets mad at me all the time, saying that I should promote myself more. I like working with my horses. I'm a small operation. Of course, we'd love to have some better horses. You're only as good as when I was a jockey, I don't care how good you rode, but you're only as good as the mount underneath of you. And the same thing, training. You have to have the horse. That's the number one thing. The reason we won this race yesterday is because we had the best horse. He's a really nice horse. As far as marketing myself, we're here to train, and maybe some people will call.
He's available at Fair Hill.
That's good.
We'll give his number on the radio tomorrow. I do want to show a picture. I don't want this photo to go to waste.
Yeah.
Chuck sent me a picture after the bowling green that is adorable with your daughter, and if we could put this up, and it shows you what kind of a horse Glorious Empire is. Yeah. And does she always wear the cat ears? Is that her thing? Is she a cat with human?
Yeah.
So funny. Look at him there, and sweet as can be, huh, to be around.
He is a dream to train. He's just a little hot when he comes to the races. So
that's all right. That's all right. You'd rather have him Passive in the barn and aggressive on the track is okay.
Yes, sir.
Before we wrap up, though, we've mentioned his name a couple of times. You talk about marketing yourself and getting tied in with good owners and whatnot. We've mentioned Matt Shearer a couple of times. We were talking before we went on the air.
Yes.
And I said, as a handicapper and a guy watching the game, man, the last couple of years, his name has become very prominent. He's fairly new, but he certainly is a prominent owner now. I think with the grade one yesterday, that set up forward even a little further.
Well, we work very well together. His handicapping and his weather forecasting comes into play, and I use it, strategizing for a race, where we're going to go pick a race, and he's a lot of fun to work with. He really is. I can't tell you how nice he is, and horses that have broken down, that have been claimed from him, he's pursued them, gotten them back, and retired them. Horses as far away as Louisiana. I mean, it's unbelievable. The guy is. I can't tell you how nice it is.
Yeah, as I say, his name is
good for the game.
A lot of the times you don't pay attention to the owner on the PP page, but he's one of those guys that I think you have to pay attention to.
He just loves the game. I tell you, he
could
loves
tell
the
he was
game.
thrilled yesterday.
Well, and because he didn't expect to win. He thought you guys could be competitive. And for those that were the weather reference, and I think we had Matt on the show, did we not, a few summers ago?
Yeah, I believe, because we were talking about the.
Yeah.
Matt trades commodities, and he relies on his training as a meteorologist.
Yes.
And when you had that crazy, there's been a couple of different times I've had him come on the radio and explain some of these weather phenomenons. And also the hurricane up the Florida coast, and it was his model that was 100% on the money.
Yes.
That when everybody was saying it was going to go up the east coast of Florida, he said it's not. It's going to hit land, and it's going to go up the west coast. Matt couldn't have been more correct on that.
He did.
But he also explained that what was that crazy winter thing we had? There was a crazy
El
winter
Nino,
phenomenon.
yes.
This past winter, and no one had ever heard the expression.
Yeah.
But his horses are named a lot
after
of that
all.
stuff.
Most of them are named after
Cyclogenesis and isotherm and that
megatherm. All those, so terms of the weather forecasting. Yes.
And he's got the Wonder Boy Thunderbolt on the silks, those powder blue silks with the yellow markings. Chuck, just so delighted for you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, we'll wrap up this edition of Loose on the Lead. One more. You believe it? We're down to one. Next weekend.
I'm getting emails. People are saying, go through.
No, come back.
No, we always leave them wanting more, especially.
You want to do like Seinfeld. The difference here is they offered Seinfeld, I think, $10 million an episode to come back. We're not getting that same kind of offer. So
I would do it for the lasagna at Pinnell's. By the way, a quick restaurant thank you. Last night out to Village Pizzeria Ristorante out in Middle Grove. You ever been out toward Galway?
I was going to say Galway.
Galway.
Middle Grove. Yeah. I've never been, but everybody raves about it.
Yeah. Sandy has been hosting race trackers forever. And really delightful night last night out in the patio. Her daughter sings, and it was a whole scene over there.
Yeah, I got to get out there. All right, we'll wrap things up. As I say, next weekend back in at 10 o'clock. Don't forget low rollers today over there. That's always a lot of fun. So jump into that. It's going to be a beautiful day here at the racetrack. So enjoy it. Enjoy the races. Back here tomorrow morning. Handicappers report at 9 o'clock. We'll see you then.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.